Hey everybody, it's the Backpedal Beginner. For the last few weeks, I've been focusing mainly on the Smith Carbine. A great little rifle. I really enjoy shooting it, but I've been thinking I've kind of forgotten about my muzzle loading rifle roots. So today we're gonna be going back and taking a look at one rifle in particular. I made a video about it a few months ago called Boar Battle. Well, this essentially is Boar Battle 2. Let's get into it. What I have here is the 54 caliber New Englander, just the barrel itself. And I'm going to be taking a look down the bore with my bore scope. And I just want you guys to see what it looks like currently. So if you get a good look in here, you'll see that the rifling is not defined at all. You see all of the uh, corrosion. And this is after I spent many, many hours with lapping compound, the JB bore cleaner, the gray stuff, copper wool, and a bunch of patches, a bunch of patches. And as you can see, it it's better than it was. You can see the rifling slightly, but once you get closer to the breech, there is just no rifling whatsoever. And actually, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of junk down in there. You rotate the camera just a little bit. But this bore is in very, very, very rough shape. And so I was doing a lot of research, and I wasn't 100% sure as to whether or not this was black powder corrosion or if it was lead or if it was plastic, like the plastic sabots that people use. So what I've decided to do is get some bore clean or clean bore, lead away cleaning cloth. And what, get some scissors. And the thought process is if it is lead and I use this clean bore cloth, then and you know what? I'm going to hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right. So I'm back. So as you can see, the lead away cloths I've cut them into the shape of patches because you get one big cloth. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of cut them into sizes that you can work with. But these are regular patches, and these are the lead away patches. And as you can see here, if the cloth turns black, then it's lead. It's lead that has been calcified into the bore. And so I'm trying to keep from touching the outside bluing. That's why, and I have gloves on. But here's a patch that I have not run through the lead away cloth, and just want to show you, me running it through just a few times. I'm using the factory ramrod, and I'm just running it down in one time, two, three, four, five, and six. So that's 6 times down. And as you can see, it is quite black. And I mean jet black. So, with that being said, I suppose that, and this is just a thought, a guess, but whoever had this rifle before, they fired it quite a bit, and they probably didn't clean it at all in between firings. They just kind of was going how they were going, and it left a lot of lead in the bore. So now that I've run 6 cloths through and 3 patches, let's see let's take a look at the bore. Let's take a look at the bore and see what we got. I mean, I don't see any real difference. I mean, I don't see any real difference from before. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, I can slightly see as you get closer to the breech, you can see a little bit more of the rifling. As get, and that's where most of the thickest lead is going to be, according to the sources and stuff that I've looked at in my research. Well, maybe there is a little bit of difference. And at the muzzle end, and getting closer to the muzzle, not really much difference. Well, maybe a little bit. You can see a little bit of a line in there where the rifling is. So, with that being said, I'm going to continue with the patches. I'm going to do, the cloth, and I'm going to do 6 more of the cloth and see where we're at after those 6. Um, and I'll be back. Okay, so here we are about an hour or so later, an hour or so, and as you can see, quite a few patches. I only used, it was six, I only used two more of the cloth, the lead away cloth, and started to use more patches. As you can see, it started to get a little bit thinner as far as the black lead coming out of the bore. So we're gonna take a look again at the bore and see what type of progress has been made. I'm gonna power this up, and then hopefully we're gonna see some lands and grooves. Well, looks like I'm gonna have to focus a little bit more on the muzzle, but it just seems like it's not as much progress as I would like. And I'm thinking that I might have to accelerate this a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah. So the next step in the process may be to go a little bit more aggressive. And I think that's what I'm going to have to do. And this process is not a cleaning process anymore. It's a restoration process. And when you have a muzzle loading rifle that is not made anymore, so you know it's older. It's of course older, at least 20 years, and you have this type of corrosion. Well, I don't want to call it corrosion, but this type of corrosion. I'm just going to use corrosion because that's the only word I can think of at this point. But when you have this type of corrosion in the bore, it ceases to be cleaning and it becomes more restoration. And because at this, there's no telling what the metal looks like under all of that. So, and that's right at the muzzle. And yeah, it's still a mess. So, I mean, I can continue on with this, but I don't see any real progress. There's a little bit, baby steps, I suppose, but I'm gonna accelerate this just a little bit further, and that will be to go with some double O steel wool on a brush. Small, this is a 50 caliber brush, and I'm gonna take some 3-in-1 oil and coat the steel wool, and then run it down the bore, and then look down and then see what has transpired after that. And I'm not going to run it down a bunch of times, just maybe 5 to 10 times, and then see what it looks like. So I'll be right back. So unfortunately, my microphone died and I didn't realize it. So it's voiceover time. So after numerous passes with the double O steel wool, as you can see on the left there, you see the steel wool that I use, and also the the brush wrapped in multiple layers of steel wool. The black residue started to kind of fade a little bit. So I was thinking that I must have been making some kind of progress. You can see there that that's where it started, kind of started out, and then it kind of progressed into being thinner and thinner. But the realization is that that calcified fouling is in there. It's stubborn. So when you look down in the bore, now that I'm looking at the video after I've made it, there is a little bit of progress, but it's still you can well if you keep with the light inside the camera there, but you can see there that it's not that fouling is solid in there, and I'm peeling it away, but I believe that there is layer after layer after layer. So with that being said, you can see some lands. Um, the grooves are completely packed with calcified fouling, but it is, as I look at it, in retrospect, it is slightly better. It is slightly better. It's just a very, very long process, and I believe the starburst pattern that I'm getting off the patches is from the middle of the bore, where you see more of the rifling, but you can see a little bit of um, rifling and part of the actual metal closer at the breech. But this area right here, I believe, is where I'm getting the starburst pattern, and that's where I'm actually getting the rifling, grabbing whatever comes down, up the board. So it took quite a bit of time and quite a bit of effort just to get that far. So what I'm saying at this point is that I'm going to have to accelerate this a little bit more. So, with that being said, you just stay tuned for part 3 of Boardbound.